What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday night to you. I'm trying to be more thorough on my YouTube channel, and it's interesting. There's been a lot of conversations, and I've been on the whole notion of people talking about Black culture, whether it's a liberal or a conservative. There's or even Black people, white people. There's always people talking about Black culture, and their commentary is typically the projections of Black culture that they see in the mainstream. And so when I tell people, when you're talking about race driven conversations, it is always valuable to be pragmatic and even have a broad lens as to what you're saying, because sometimes some arguments, although they may have validation, they could also be stated again to validate some other group. So obviously, there's people who talk about Black America, like I said, through the lens of the mainstream. And when you look at how Black America is projected in the mainstream, you see, the hip hop culture, promoting violence and, horror culture, slut culture, all kinds of debauchery. They're basically promoting Sodom and Gomorrah very aggressively in hip hop culture. And that particular segment of music is targeted to Black people for a reason, because people understand that music, and you can talk to any music therapist, and they will tell you that music is the Pied Piper to the behaviors, right? It's the Pied Piper to behaviors. So when you are listening to certain songs, it invokes certain emotions in you, right? Certain spirits in you, right? And I've had to divorce myself from hip hop music recently, just because it's like, as much as I love the genre, as much as I've been conditioned to love a lot of these artists, a lot of these people are singing sermons of Satan. These people are singing songs over beats and melodies that just reinforces the feelings of the songs. And a lot of them, again, is hypersexual and riddled with violence. And that is what they target to Black people. But this hypersexual and Satanism, at least, is not just targeted to Black people, it's targeted to everybody. But specifically, when you look at the entertainment that is targeted to Black people, and when you see the individual faces that they use to promote, these projections of Black people, some of them, arguably, they leave you in contradiction, and you're constantly wondering, like, how did this even happen? But really, there is an invested interest in making Black people look ignorant. There is an invested interest in making Black people look like the most unhinged and disorganized group in this nation. And a lot of that is, intentionally promoting behaviors to the Black community that, unfortunately, people buy into as Black culture, and it doesn't really serve them or the overall culture well. Now, that's the mainstream projections of Black America. Now, my experience in Black America has been through different lenses. From the up until the time I was 7, I lived in the straight hood. My mom, she was a gangbanger. We was a drug house. It was a lot of lit things that happened in my childhood very early on, living in the hood, right? That's one dynamic, right? That's the poverty line, desperation. The epitome of success is the neighborhood drug guy or gal these days, right? And then CPS took us away, and I my whole reality changed, where I went from that extreme poverty line to growing up in a middle class neighborhood. And, obviously in my mom's home, we got structure, we got religion, we got accountability, we had expectation. It was a totally different world, but I appreciated the regiments, every aspect of it. And so I say this to say that, that experience being in middle class Black America, people got up, they worked. There were a lot of people out here in Detroit metro area entrenched in the automotive sector. So my experience with Black people has always been they get up, they take their kids to school like everybody else, they go to work, they do their time on job, they come back and they go and they get their family, they enjoy their family time. Many of them are family oriented, so they actually stay connected with their people. And that's the Black America that I know of. And even when I was an adult and I lived in different areas on the west side of Detroit and on the east side of Detroit, when I lived on the east side of Detroit, which was kind of like hoodish or whatever, I will say that that 1 year that I lived over there, it was very enlightening, and I would often walk in the streets of some of those blocks, nervous as hell because it wasn't really my idea of a place that I want to live, and it's I think that people get offended. But there's certain Black areas that you don't necessarily want to live. I lived on a street growing up that was a mixture of Black and white people, but it was mostly middle class Black people. And so it was a mix. But it was predominantly a Black area, but we still had some of those established whites who they didn't have no problem with their Black neighbors. Everybody, they coexist. My mom had the same neighbor when she built her house next door to him. His white son had a crush on my sister. So my experience with Black America is through the lens of working people, not lazy people, not unmotivated people. And it's easy to make a narrative like that when you can kind of go grab some statistics, right, and then throw some projections about what Black America is about. I've gone to different people's house parties, family reunions. They weren't ghetto, ratchet, unhinged, right? There were young people at these family reunions that had respect for their elders and were taught to have respect for their elders. And these are people who are faith-based people, and even if you had a situation where there was a man and he wasn't with his wife, he was still involved with the kid's life, whether they were not together or not, or if they were. And I always tell people that there's a difference between a single mom and a single woman with kids, right? A single mom has all of the financial burden, right? Whereas a single woman with kids, she has help. She's not the primary financial source for her kids. Even if she's doing most of the work, she's not the primary financial source. And and it's really important to establish that because I think a lot of times I see that even when I was on the east side, there was a lot of baby daddies that were going around their kids, getting their kids. They were dealing with baby mamas who were making it hard for them to see their kids a lot of times. And a lot of times when you have a woman who is pushing the guy away, especially if she has welfare programs that can kind of replace his existence there anyways, it does create a psychological dynamic for a lot of women who are fed up with these men, to just resort to like, I'd rather deal with this welfare system than you're behind. So it is what it is, but this is not a reality that's just confined to Black people. People are like, what about the single fathers of Black men, among Black men? It's like single fathers are among every race. Like, I mean, I'm sure if you go and again look at all the races, right? Maybe you're going to see black people show up on top, but some of you other races aren't that far behind. And, obviously, some of your paid black faces, they're not paid to talk about you and criticize you because obviously your people are paying them. So the minute they hear white people anything negative, they're just like, oh my God, I used to listen to you, but now it's like you're not playing ball by the what we want you to say. It's like the puppeteering, the puppet masters on the Democrat and Republican side. It's so interesting to me. But anyways, getting back to black culture, there's absentee fathers across race groups. Even if you may see more in the black community, there are absentee fathers in every single race group, right? When you talk about the IQs of people, even if black people are coming in at a lower IQ, and that's a variety of different reasons for that, you're probably still going to see a decline in all of the IQs across America because people are getting stupid. Like, it is what it is. People are not as intelligent as they used to be. And even the people crying common sense, it's like, they are riddled with, intelligence deficiencies as well. But they love to believe that all black Americans are intelligent deficient. But anyways, I think when you think about the dynamics of people, and people love to project negative aspects of Black America, right? Candace Owens, like I said, and those Republican puppets, right? Black puppets, right? They're committed only to talking about Black people negatively. They are only committed to talking about it. It's not about hard truth, right? Because hard truth is saying, yeah, Black America has some problems. I would say that there are many of us that need to get ourselves together. We need to get our individual selves in order, right? We need to get our families in order. But that's not to say that there's not a lot of Black people who are not there. There are a lot of Black men that are there for their kids and their wives. There are a lot of Black men who are happily married. I mean, I look through my Facebook timeline all the time and I'm looking at happily married Black people and their children enjoying life, full in faith, like anybody, like they're living the narrative that these people don't want to show that Black people live as well, right? And again, everybody is getting paid to project and say something, right? Like I said, the Black liberals, they are all about the Black struggle. The Black conservatives, all about the Black laziness, lack of motivation. Black people can't get ahead not because of policies that impact Black people hardest, right? Like let's take something like NAFTA, right? Let's just take something like NAFTA. I feel like I talk all day. Take something like NAFTA, right? Bipartisan, right? So you can't say, oh, the Democrats are doing this to you. NAFTA was bipartisan, right? And what was the result of NAFTA, right? What did that do for your skilled trades population that were comprised of both Black and white and all people in between in America, right? It displaced a lot of manufacturing professionals, and a lot of people were not able to fully recover from the displacement of a variety of different industries in America. Now, when you want to talk about the building of Black wealth in America, I just kind of think about just Michigan, for example. Ford Motor Company and eventually GM and Chrysler and all of them, those companies were very integral in building legacies and generations of not just automotive workers, Black automotive workers, but also these people were able to buy houses, have cars, buy multiple houses. I know multiple people in Detroit right now who are living in a home, that one of the homes that they inherited from their parents, who had lucrative careers or long careers in the automotive sector. These are hardworking Black American people who get up every day. Some of them have weird shifts or whatever, so they got to get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning just so they can drive to Dearborn or some other faraway Ford site to get to work on time. And their sons did this, and their grandsons did that, and these are legacies of Black workers. Legacies of Black workers. And you're also talking about legacies of families who were able to pass on generational wealth of some sort. Were they able to pass on, hundreds of millions? No, but they were able to pass on something to their kids. And there are many Black people who are in that position today, even if it's not as many as those in the white category. And again, I'm going to reiterate, when you have people who are intentionally spouting off vile things about a race with no objectivity or pragmatism, no matter how right their talking points are, again, I will say it again, time, place, and manner. It's not what you say, it's how you say it and who you are pandering to when you say it. And there's a lot of low IQ people actually that don't comprehend that, because they get off on feeling like Black people are lower than them, right? They've been conditioned by that their whole lives. Because remember, we're all kind of victims of generational rhetoric. So Black people are conditioning their kids into believing certain things, and white people doing the same thing. Right. So if you got white people who are conditioned, who are conditioning their kids that, hey, you may be a loser, Johnny, but at least you ain't no Black person. Right? There's a lot of people running around like, man, I may be ugly, but at least I'm not Black, because in their mind, no matter how ugly I am, I'm still going to have better chances than a Black person. There are a lot of people who still think that way, right? And when you got Black people who are sort of validating their thinking of Black people in some special, colorful way, it guides under, I just want to help the Black people by talking on these points. It's like, honey, you don't even know when somebody say God is good, right? And they asked Candace, well, it was on, where was it, the Breakfast Club, right? And it's like, God is good, right? When people say that, most of the time, at least the people around here I've known growing up, is they'll say all the time. And it's like, and all the time, God is good, right? And it's just something that people say, like I've heard, and it doesn't really, it doesn't, to me, I don't think that, people need to be measured on their standard of an ideal of Blackness, right? But you do need to be in touch with a culture that you are dedicating time to bash, right? Because again, I don't see Candace Owens highlighting anything about rural white America culture. I don't see her highlighting things like that. Matter of fact, there's not even a music or entertainment demographic for rural white America mainstream. I think Jerry Springer was the closest that we were going to get to that. And I haven't seen anything like that since, because they don't want white people projected ignorantly, because that ignorance is reserved for Blacks. So again, it's funny. I did a chat GPT and I was like, who owns the Black narrative? And it said the government, and the media, right? So the narrative about Black people is always being formulated, colorfully by all these different individuals who are both Black and non-Black. You have some people who, because they're getting paid and funded by non-Black money, right? They want to just, illegitimize the true issues that Black people have with how many people are projecting their race in general. and as a whole. So when you say black people this, black people that, black people that, black America this, black America that, you're painting a broad stroke over an entire community of people. And that is very problematic, and it's very disrespectful to the blacks that don't meet that narrative. And my whole thing is, if you're trying to help a black America, to me, why not highlight the best of black America, right? And if you are the change that you want to see, if you are this example that black people should follow, to me, why not, highlight that aspect and highlight more aspect. Go out there and find more black people like you. But some of these people won't do that because, they're trying to act like they're a fixed demographic in the black community, a very tiny fixed demographic in the black community that can think for themselves, right? And not live up to some idealism of blackness, right? But all the while, many of them are selling out and they are buying talking points that somebody else wants them to hear about black people, because a lot of these people, again, you will never see them criticizing the hand that feeds them. Well, you see Candace, she did that and it didn't work out for her. But, most of the times these people will puppeteer to, the talking points that some of these people they would parrot. And it's so funny because I was listening to Jason Whitlock and what is her name? Shamika Michelle. And these are two people where, for what it's worth, I've been able to agree with a number of their talking points, right? But I also understand, the buck dancing black. And these people are Republican buck dancers, right? And like I said, none of these people are no different than Al Sharpton. They're just playing a different game with different words. But, they're pandering to their masters, right? And so truly, it really is two plantations that these people are on. And, if you're an independent, then congratulations, you're free. You're my tribe. You're my tribe. Sorry, I was looking at something. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you like my content, subscribe. I'm going to be objective about this. At this point, I feel like we don't have anything to lose just being honest, but brutally objective, right? Because, as much as we can point the finger and create narratives about one particular people, as I assess my experience with a broad variety of different people, I'm like, we've been so deceived. We've been so deceived. So many people have been deceived. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. But I thank God for the enlightenment. I thank God for giving me the eyes of a watchman to really see and analyze all of this stuff. Because like I tell my people, there is no side to be on. There is no side to be on in this bipartisan mess stuff. I mean, because they're just all talking heads. One side may go more logical than the other side, but at the end of the day, they are all talking heads. They're almost like demons to me. I don't want to call these people demons, right? Because I pray for everybody, right? But these people are influencers to some extent, so they are distractions. They are distractions, and they understand how to leverage Christianity and faith, in a way that gives them credibility and, also gives them, the platform to be able to just say what these people want to hear about Black people. So, anyways, I'm about to go. I feel like I need to just get off the internet sometimes. I check in. I have to be on the internet because I have to watch kind of what's happening in the world. But it's just like when I see the inclinations of human beings on like all sides of the aisle, I'm like, Lord, be with us. These people, it's going to be interesting to see the future human interaction in this nation. That's all I got to say. Bye.